I know where. That's what it is.
All right, this is Daf Yomi in motion number 795.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're going to learn Daf Ayin Hey in Metzia, and we're going to be speaking about Halvuas Sauh, the exchange, the lending out of commodities in that the person will get back commodities. We've spoken about that before, that it's generally usher to do because we're afraid that if at the time when the loan will be given back, the bushel will be given back, it might be at a higher rate, and then that'll be ribis. But if the loiva the borrower at the time when he's borrowing, if he possesses any amount, some of that commodity that he's borrowing, then it's okay because it's considered that that the loiva at that moment when he's taking the loan, the amount that he has in his possession is considered that amount is already considered the malvas, that small amount, and it's that when he gives it back, it's considered that he was sitting in the reshus of the malva the whole time. The commodity was sitting in the reshus of the malva the whole time, and therefore if it will go up in value, it'll go up in value in the reshus of the malva, and that's why it's okay. And it's anyway not ribis d'oraisa because it's not the exact way that a loan, if they would stipulate in the beginning that if I don't, for the use of my money, I will pay you this amount. It's not normal a loan that it's only considered avak ribis d'Rabbanan anyway. So therefore, they weren't machmir in the case where the loiva had some of the commodity by him at the time of the loan. The Gemara begins on Ayin Daled Amid Beis. The Mishnah in the wide lines, about 5 lines down in the wide lines. Zakta Halakha Mishnah, Malva Odom Es Arisayv, Chitin Bechitin, Lezera. Give wheat kernels for the purpose of using these kernels to seed the field to his sharecropper. And with the agreement that he will get back saw, as long as it be used as for seeding. Normally, saw is a lola achol, but you can't give it the wheat. In order that he originally borrowed. Shahaya Rabban Gamliel Malva S. Arisayv, Chitin Bechitin Lezera. That what Rabban Gamliel used to do is he would give over to his sharecroppers the wheat, a certain amount of wheat, and it would be on the agreement that they would return that amount of wheat to him after a time. And what he used to do is by the time it had to be returned, if it had gotten more value, meaning that you became more expensive. Yoker, if it started out expensive, v'huzlu, and then by the time of the piroyim it was less valuable, or if it's the other way around, or if at the time of the loan, bizol, if it was cheap when he first borrowed it, lent it out, v'hukru, and then by the time it had expensive, no matter way, gamli lesser, that the amount which would be lower. For example, if it went down in value, he would take wheat. And if it went up in value, that if he would take wheat, he would end up getting more of how much value he originally gave at the time of the loan. So he always is taking like the lesser amount. And that's the Mishnah is going to tell us that was just a chumrah that Rabban Gamliel was taking on himself. So it says that, he would, again, is that b'yoker v'huzlu obizol ubehukru notel mehem kishar hazol. He would always take the lower amount. That's not necessarily the halacha that you have to do like that. Just want to be machmir in this particular case. The Gemara speaks. Tanu Rabbanan, we have a brisa that says, similar to this Mishnah, Malva Adam a person is but he could have started plowing it. And then if he did go and start plowing it, Aval Yorad also, but if he had already gone down to the field and started his job as a sharecropper, and then they start talking about whether or not he can borrow the seed to seed the field, Brisa tells us that it would be usher to then lend a saw b'saw, give him a produce with the agreement that he would get back produce. Then it would be usher. So Mashana, what's the difference? Here we see in this Brisa that it all depended on whether the sharecropper had gone down to the field and started working. But in our Mishnah, when we said that a person is allowed to lend a saw, a chita b'chita, for the purpose of zera, he didn't stipulate, our Mishnah didn't stipulate that it's all totally on the whether or not the sharecropper went down to the field and started working or not. So what's the difference between the Brisa and our Mishnah? Why the Brisa makes it depend on whether or not the sharecropper started working the field, and our Mishnah doesn't make it depend on whether the sharecropper started working the field. So that's what Gemara asks. Mashana Tana Didan. What's the difference with our Tana? To loka miflig bein yorad ubein lo yorad. Our Mishnah doesn't distinguish between whether the sharecropper went and started working the field or not. It just says it's muta. You could lend commodity for commodity, as long as it was just for seeding the field. So and v'mashana Tana Bura to call maflig bein yorad ubein lo yorad. And the Brisa learns that there is a distinction. It all depends on whether or not the sharecropper went down to work to make this type of a loan. Omar Rava explains, Asbara, the Bar Idi explained to him, Nilay explained to Rava, what the chiluk would be between the Brisa and our Mishnah. But Astra de Tana Didan, in the place of our Tana, where we don't say that it's dependent on whether the sharecropper went down to the field or not. So that's a place where Arisa Yoyev Bizra. That's a place where the minhag is that if a sharecropper goes to a field, it's on the sharecropper to seed the field, to provide the seeds to seed the field. It's not on the owner of the field to provide the seeds for that field, for that crop. So then in our Mishnah, it doesn't matter. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether he went down to work the field or not. So that's what the Gemara says. Bein yorad, bein lo yorad. Yoyev b'Israel. So, since as long as he didn't give, the sharecropper doesn't have the field available for the field, doesn't have the seed available for the field. So that's because he is lacking in his he didn't even start his job yet if he doesn't have the seed, because it's on him to provide the seed for working that field. So it calls him on that he doesn't have it. Really, the Baal Sodeh could just back out from using him. So Matzi Misalik Le, the Baal really could send them away still. And therefore, when he would lend out, make this halva, lend out the seed, so that's considered the beginning of his work as a sharecropper. And if that's considered the beginning of his work as a sharecropper, so that means he's going in when he's all the agreement that will be made between them about the seed, it will only be part of his hiring, like the conditions of his job, and nothing to do with a loan. So that means that, so if he still has the rights to kick him out and not use him, the Baal Soda still doesn't have to use him because he doesn't have the seeds. That means he's not ready to be a sharecropper. So but when he will get the seed as a loan, like we thought it looked like a loan, so then the chikot nokis levotzir mohachi kanachis. So therefore, when he does take that, what we thought was a loan, it won't really be a loan. It'll rather be part of the agreement that he'll get this seed, and it'll then be understood, it'll be as though they agreed that when he pays back what he's supposed to pay back the Bailim, that he'll be paying it back minus the value of the seed. And that would have been how they hired each other, how the Baal Soda, that would be the agreement that they made with each other, not a loan. And therefore, in our Mishnah, it doesn't matter when, since it's on the Aris to provide the seed, so then it doesn't matter whether he started his work or not. Soon as if he doesn't have seed, he's not a sharecropper. As soon as he gets seed, he can become a sharecropper, and that just becomes the agreement to pay him. And it's not like paying him back. It's just that when you will give me, when the sharecropper will pay the owner of the field what he's supposed to pay him, he'll subtract from that amount the value of the seed. So there's no real loan being returned to him, just the agreement of how he will pay the owner of the field without the seed. However, the Brisa, which said that it's all totally on whether he had started his work or not, the sharecropper started working or not, and if he started working, then he wouldn't be able to. Then it would be like make such a loan of commodity for commodity. But if he hadn't yet started his work yet, then he could tell him, here, take this commodity and you give me back commodity, because then before he went to the field, he hadn't started his sharecropper job yet. So therefore, as soon as he would get so we'll see. Let's see, the Gemara explains it. So that's our Mishnah. Why we don't care if he went down and started his work was because it's on the sharecropper to provide the seed. However, the ask for the Tana Bra, but in the place of the Tana of the Brisa, so Mori Ara Yoyev Bizra. It's the owner of the field that always provides the seed for the sharecropper to work the field. That really, even before, what he wants to say is that even if he would go down to the field without the seed to start work, to seed the field, it's not considered that the sharecropper hasn't started his sharecropper job yet. And he still could have, it's still considered he started his sharecropper job. And therefore, any deal which they will make talking about the seed will not be considered an agreement of how he's going to get paid, but rather would be a loan, because it's really the responsibility of the owner to provide the seed. So if he's telling him, hey, I'll give you the seed and you give it back, it wouldn't be in the form of their agreement of how he's going to pay the sharecropper, that you're just going to give me less, that agreeing that the sharecropper, when he goes to pay the owner of the field back, he'll just subtract from the amount that he's supposed to give him for the value of the seed, because it was never his responsibility to pay for the seed. So then the seed will be a separate cheshbon than what he's supposed to pay back the owner. Therefore, it will be a loan, and therefore, if he started so kind of the Mori Ara Yoyev supplies the seed. So Ilo Yorad, if the sharecropper hadn't yet started his work on the field, the Motzi Misalikle. So then he hasn't started working. The owner could kick him out and say, I don't want to work with you. He hasn't started being a sharecropper yet. And then it would, by making an agreement about giving him the commodity and receiving the commodity in return, that would be pure loan. That would be loan. And therefore it would be so, which is asa, because maybe the value will be more when he goes to give it back. But if he had already started working the field and he is a sharecropper, and if the owner would then lend him the commodity, the seed, and they would agree to pay it back, so then it would be considered as though it is part of the agreement of his sharecropper job, and therefore it would be as though he's saying, I'll pay you back what I'm supposed to be paying you back, minus the value of the seed. So it wouldn't be a loan. Then that would be mutter. So that's what the Gemara is saying. You're right. If he hadn't gone back down yet, so dematzi misalikle, he could just push him off. So he's not a sharecropper yet, and therefore anything he would do, that would be loan. Kiko nachis. It's the other way around, not like I explained. So then, since he wasn't a sharecropper, so then if they spoke, so let's see, Kiko nachis livtsim hachi konachis. So then if they had already spoken out how the wheat would be given over and how it would be paid back, and then he started working, then it would be considered as that was part of the agreement of how he would get paid, and he would just pay the owner like less the amount of the seed, and it wouldn't be considered a loan. That's if he hadn't started working. They agreed on how the seed would be dealt with, and then he would go down to his job, and then it would be all of that agreement would just be part of how he's supposed to pay back the owner, and it wouldn't be loan. However, the Gemara says, "Mechiko nachis," right? Bibotzi ki nachis, when he goes down to the field to work, libotzi mahachi konachis. He's just going to pay him back minus the value of the seed, and that would be just the way he's going to pay him back. Yored. However, if he had already gone down to the field, that the owner can't kick him out because he's already started his job. So then it would be also, because it would be after they had already like closed on how the deal would be made, and it would be pure loan of Sauh, which would be us. Tana Rabbanan, we learn in the Brisa, Omar Adam, the Chaver, a person can tell his friend, Halveni kor chita, that lend me a commodity, a certain amount of wheat, the koitetz lodomim, and they, on the shar of the value of that wheat at the time of the loan, they evaluate how much a core of wheat is worth, and it's as though the loan that being given is that value. It's just like a value of, it's just as though a loan of money was being given. So they quote it slow domim. It's really that he really borrowed money from him. Who's Lu? And we say that if the value of the wheat will go down, so at the time when he's supposed to return it, he can really he can get more for the amount of money that, so to speak, he gave as a loan. He can get more wheat back. So note what we say is noisein lo chitim. And what he does is he just gives him the value of what he's saying. He's giving him the chitim, meaning exactly the amount of wheat that he originally gave him. Huku, if it goes up in value and it's more expensive, and he would get back more wheat, less wheat than the amount of money than the amount of wheat value that he originally gave as a loan. So then noisen demayhem, then you just give the money. So this doesn't really make sense. And the Gemara says, "V'halo kotzitz." They established how much it was worth. So then, how come if it goes down in value, you're just giving the amount of wheat that was originally given? You should be going all according to the value that was originally given, and you should be giving back exact value, even if it went down. Who cares that that amount of wheat went down? So you should be giving him more wheat in order to equal the original value. So Omar Rav Sheshis, what do we mean, B'chlal? No, we meant something different. Hochi Kamar, this is what we were meaning to say, that in the case where they didn't fix the value of that wheat that was given in the beginning, so they never really knew how much that was worth. What do you do then? If at the time when he's supposed to give it back, so then if wheat in general went up, or if it became more expensive or became cheaper, so then if they didn't fix how much value it was worth at the time of the loan, so then we look, whose loan? What we meant to say is if it we know that it went down in value from then, so then what we're supposed to do is, meaning that you can get more wheat for the amount that he originally gave than the amount, for that same amount that he originally gave, value amount, you could really buy more wheat. So then what you do is noitel chitay. So you don't care about that. You don't give him more wheat. All you do is give him the exact amount of wheat that he originally gave him. And if it went hukru, and that it became, you could get less wheat now at the time of the piroyon, then with the value that he originally gave him in the loan. So then noisin demain, then you give him the value of what he originally gave as a loan. And that's just explaining when they didn't fix it, how they pay it back.
I'm confused. If they didn't fix it, doesn't that mean they don't know what the price is?
Then how could they?
How can they get back the value?
They're not giving value. So how could they know?
Yeah. Get back, it says, if it became more expensive, get back the value. Right? But how do they know the value to give it back?
No, I think what it means is when they koitzitz, it means that they turn it into like a money loan. By taking a bushel of apples or a core of wheat in the beginning, if they at that moment they equate it with its value of the shar, the market,
right,
it means that they're turning it into a money loan.
Right, but in this case,
so they never did that. So in the case where if you see that it became more expensive by the time when it has to be paid back, then they say, okay, I'm just going to give you money back. They know how much quantity was given.
How do they know how much?
They know how much quantity was given, and right, then they look back at how much that was worth at the time of the loan. They don't care. It's not.
How do they know what it was worth at the time of the loan?
They know when the loan was given.
They have like a record of the prices every day.
They know when it was worth, how much it was worth a month ago. They don't forget how much it was worth. They know that they know how much it was worth. They were smart. They knew how much it was worth a month ago. They knew exactly how much it's worth now. So then, I have to pay you. He has to pay you according to its value.
What does it mean, katsas then?
Katsas means that they're turning it.
What it's worth, and why do they have to establish its value? They can always establish its value. So what is?
Because it wasn't based that way. It was just given as a commodity. Give me back a commodity. So it was that you're not really supposed to do that. It's Sauh. If they had been kotzitz, then that's like better, because it's just like a money loan. You're only giving back the exact value. If they didn't do that, how do we know how it's supposed to be given back? They didn't say. Kotzitz, not kotzitz. It seems to mean that I'm giving you this commodity, and you're supposed to pay me back the commodity. We didn't establish it as according to its value. It wasn't established as a loan based on the value of what commodity that I originally gave you, right? So therefore, when he goes to go back, we don't know how it's supposed to be paid back. So if it goes down in value, and if he was going to go according to commodity, he would be giving back more. If we would go according to value, you should give back more produce than you originally got, because you can get more of that produce for the same amount of money. But he never fixed it like that. So we're not going to give him back more produce. He's only going to give him back exactly the amount of produce that he originally took. That's the way we're going to do it.
And if he did fix it, you're also going to do it.
No, if he did fix it, he would give back more produce, because they fixed it means it's going according to value of what he originally gave him. And then he would give back more produce. It would always be according to the value. It would just be like a money loan. So he would give back the value. But if it went down, up in value, and you can buy less of that produce with the value that he originally gave in the time of the loan, so then how will it be given back? So they're not going to give less produce back, and they're not going to give the same amount of produce back either, because then you're giving more back than he originally gave also. So then they look how much it was worth at the time of the loan, and they just give the money value. Because I don't think they were supposed to do this, because it's a Sauh b'Sauh. It was only the Rabbanan, but because they weren't kotzet the way they were supposed to, but we're talking about a case where the Lova didn't have it in his Rishus, otherwise then it would have been Beseder also. So this is how we will be noihig in terms of the piroyon, in terms of the paying back. Because you have to know how you're going to pay back if they didn't do if they weren't kotzet properly. Because they did something basically asa d'Rabbanan. That's how you pay it back. Like the Zakta Helik Mishnah, Lo Omar Odom Lechavero. Person should not tell his friend, Halveni Kor Chitim. Give me a commodity, a Kor Chitim, a certain amount of produce, Vani Eten Lecha, and I will pay it back for you after I harvest my field. I'll give back the seed, the grain, to you after I have it in my garden, in my silo, in my storehouse. You shouldn't say that, because that's Sauh b'Sauh. Maybe it'll be worth more later when he goes to give it back. Halveni about Omar, but what he can do is he can tell him Halveni ad shiyovo b'ni o ad she'em samafter. So that's considered, give me the loan until my son will come back, or until I find the mafter to my storehouse, which we had before. That's a case where he has it. It's considered he has it, even though he can't get it immediately at this moment, but it's considered that it's enough accessible to him that it's considered that he has it. Therefore, it makes it, that's the heter of Sauh b'Sauh, that at that moment of the giving over of the loan, it's considered that the Malva acquired what he has in his house, and if anything should go up, appreciate by the time of the piroyon, it'll be considered that it appreciated in the Rishus of the Malva anyway, so it's muter. And since it's not kutzitz, it's not anyway ribas d'oraisa anyway, they weren't machmir on the in a case a loan like this when the loiva has the same commodity at hand at that moment of the loan. The Hillel doesn't allow this, meaning Hillel doesn't allow even when the loiva has the commodity. He's oiseh. Rashi says in the Mishnah about what you could do is halveni ad sheyavo b'ni. Give me a loan until I can get access to it. It's almost accessible to me until his son comes back. Kevin de yeshlo, that's considered yeshlo, that he has it really. So then shapir dami, then it's not such a problem according to the Tanakama. Daha Sauh b'Sauh to Rabbanan, because Sauh b'Sauh, the Halvuas of Sauh b'Sauh is only the Rabbanan. Why is it only the Rabbanan? Dulav neshich d'oraisa. It's not considered ribas d'oraisa, which is of the stipulating, making up of that there will be interest paid back for a monetary loan given. So v'chi yeshlo lo gozer. So therefore, when he has the produce, they weren't gozer that it should be asa d'Rabbanan. But Hillel is oiseh. Hillel said this. Lo salve isha. We see similarly that Hillel said that a woman shouldn't lend out a kikar l'chaverta, so she shouldn't take a loaf of bread and give it to a friend and have her pay her back the same similar loaf. We just said above, lend out commodity. So when shouldn't do this, kikar l'chaverta ad shitosu domim. Shouldn't do this until they will will evaluate the monetarily how much value that loaf of bread had, and then it becomes like a money loan anyway, and then it would be mutter. But if you leave it as a commodity loan, you shouldn't do it according to Hillel. in any way, even if she has it. Why? Shema Yukru, because maybe it'll go up by the time of the Pirayon. And the other, the Nimsu Boys Lidei Rivers. That's why they don't do it, because it will be found that it will come to Rivers if it's worth more when she gives it back. Zakta Gemara, Omar Rab Huna, Yesh Lo Saw. If he has, the loiva has some of that commodity when he's taking a loan, so then loiva saw, then you can borrow another saw because you have a saw. So it's at that moment that saw that he has becomes in the shoes of the malva, meshubit to the malva, so to speak. And if it goes up in value, it went up in value in the shoes of the malva. And so sayim loiva sosayim. If he has two saw, he can borrow two saw, because he has the commodity. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer, afilu yesh lo saw loiva ale kama koren. Even if you have a certain amount, even if you have amount of the commodity, the produce, you can take a loan more than the amount that he has in his house. And the reason is because, let's say a core is several saw, but he has one saw in his house. So on every saw that he's borrowing, that saw is connected to the saw that he has in his house. Even though that he's borrowing 10 saw, each one that he's borrowing is connected the saw that he has in his house. See Rashi, the first Rashi on the Gemara, which is the second narrow line down. Kamas korin. He can borrow kama korin based on one saw that he has in his house. The kol choda v'choda, because every single saw that he's now borrowing, amrimin zu ta tachteya. We say that this, the one that he has in his house, should be in its place. Shari eina kinuya lemalva. Because the one in its place, right? Because the one that he has in his house will back up the loan that he's taking, because the one that he has in his house was never the Malva never did Mashiach on it. It was never officially his, but it's just there to be able to be paid, back with. And since it's not officially his, really the loiva could use the saw that he has in his house. Even as long as at the time of the loan he had the saw, in order to take the loan with, he's still allowed to use up the saw that he originally had in his house. And since that's true, he could really always eat that saw, and it wouldn't be there. But he already had the heter to take the first saw as a loan, and then he goes and eats the saw that he has in his house. It's still okay because he had that first saw in his house when he took that first saw. And so since he has that right to eat it, or he could even sell it. He could do whatever he wants with the saw that he has, as long as he had it at the time that he took the other saw as a loan. So what do we see? Then we see that the one that he borrowed ends up being mizkefis al peros shibashuk, is really because if he would sell that saw that he had in his house and have money for it, it's the fact that the loiva could buy with that money another saw in the shuk. That's what makes it okay for keneged the loan that he took. V'zu penuya lilvais aleya. And therefore, the fact that he could get it in the shuk again means that you could. So therefore, the fact that he could use that saw that he had in his house for, if he wanted to, that makes that it's really he calls it, therefore zu penuya lilvos oleya, that you can keep. Therefore, it makes it as though it's still available because it's not used up, that it's not considered that went over to the malva. No. It's since the lover can still do things with the original produce that he had in his house, so that makes it still considered available to keep taking loans off of it. Alea. Therefore, we see that every time he took a loan, each saw that he took, even though if he took multiple saw, he was taking each one beheta. How do we know that? Because if he would only have taken one saw as a loan, and then and eaten the saw that he had in his house, eaten the one that he took as a loan, and then eaten the first one, since that when he took the loan originally, everything was beseder, so Yishalem Chitim, that he could just pay back the commodity, there wouldn't be a problem. So Hachanami, even when he has one saw in his house and he's trying to borrow 10 saw, Hachanami, Kishuloiva Beheter, when he took the loan, Loiva, Kol saw v'saw, he borrowed Beheter each saw. Shahari Zu Omedis, because the original one is like still there. So I think what we're saying is, he had the first one. When he borrows like one other, he can do whatever if he wanted to with the one that he borrowed, he could eat it or he could sell it and get money for it. So it's so even if he would even if he would eat the first one, the one that he borrowed is like equivalent to the first one, and so he could then borrow based on the one that he borrowed, because that would be like the first one. And it ends up being that he always really has like the saw in his rishus, even when he just that's Rav Yitzchak's din. You said Loven, right? So that's what the Gemara is saying. We're back in the Gemara. Rav Yitzchak Omer, afilu yesh lo saw. Even if he has one saw, he can borrow many saw. Loiva ole kama korin. That's Rabbi Yitzchak's din, and we pass like that. Tony, we learn in Brisa, Rabbi Chia, the CUA le Rabbi Yitzchak. So we bring Rabbi Chia as a support for Rabbi Yitzchak. So he says like this. He says, there's a Brisa that says, Tipas yayin ein lo, Tipas shemen ein lo. Meaning, in the case where he doesn't have even a drop of wine or a drop of shemen, he can't take the loan because he doesn't have anything first in his rishus. The Medayik in that Brisa said that if he had some drops, he would be able to take the loan of the commodity of the wine or of the oil. Ha yesh lo, if he had some drops of the wine or the oil, loive ole kama tipin. He would have been able to borrow even more than those few drops. So we see that was a support that if you have the little, then it allows to even borrow a lot. And that's similar like if a person borrows, lends out like dollar bills in Eretz Yisrael. So really the person who borrowed, the borrower, the loiva, is going to take those dollar bills and change them into shekels, Israeli shekels. So the dollar bill becomes the payroys. So really what they do when they give a loan is the loiva has to have at least $1 in his possession in his house in order for him to be able to take a loan of $1,000. That's what they try to make sure that therefore you can be makna to the loiva a dollar bill at the time when the malva will give him $1,000 loan. So by the Gemara, the Hillel Oyser says, no, you can't. Unless you kaitzitz how much that commodity is worth, you're not supposed to make loans of a saw b'saw. So So Amar Rab Nachman, Omar Shmuel. Halacha kidivrei Hillel. Halacha is like Hillel, below Hilchos Kavase. Even though halacha is like Hillel, but we don't pass in like the that we always require that they should be kaitzitz.
I misunderstand. I couldn't say the law's like Hillel, and then the next sentence says, oh, the law's not like Hillel. Oh, it's saying that Rav Nachman and Rav Shmuel are wrong.
So these Amoraim would say that halacha is like him, but we don't paskin like those Amoraim. So, because Hill doesn't even allow, even when they have the similar produce in the house, he doesn't allow it unless they coach it. And that's what, so they want to say that halacha was like him, but that's not halacha. We pass that if the person has similar produce in his house, he can still take the loan.
So the person has one piece of straw in his house.
Right. He can
straw
take.
Size is not the problem.
Right. Halacha is like Rabbi Yitzchak. Once we pass in that halacha is not like Shmuel or like Hillel, that they ushered saw even when there is when the lova has some of that produce, and we allowed when the lova has some produce. Then we went the next step, and and halacha became like Rabbi Yitzchak, that you only have to have a small amount of that produce, and you can still borrow a large amount of that produce as long as the lova has a small amount of that produce. Omar Rab Nachman, Omar Shmuel. Oh, we said that already. But V'chein haya Hillel, Omer Hillel used to say, Lo Sauh the Isha, like Hillel used to say, that a woman shouldn't give over a loaf of bread and get back a loaf of bread, because unless they would be it's the value of that bread. Omer Rab Yehuda, Omar Shmuel, Zu Divrei Hillel, that's Hillel. While Chachamim are cholek on that. Omrim, Lovin Stam V'Efroim Stam, that a person can give over the loaf of bread and get back the loaf of bread. Rashi says, in the narrow lines of Rashi, down about 15 lines, 13 lines, Lovin, Kikaros, loaves of bread, Stam, below Ketzitas, you don't even have to fix, according to the Chachamim, you don't have to fix its value, Damim. Shlo echmiru, they weren't machmir in this case. V'daktik b'isra so to worry about the so b'kach. What does it mean b'kach? Meaning in small amounts. Things that are small, we don't worry about so. So the Meforshim explain why not. They gave like two answers. One, they say that since they usually, when a person like lends a bag of milk to their neighbor or one of these small, or a loaf of bread, so it's usually for short periods of time and the market doesn't fluctuate. Another hezbollah that they give, since it's such a small amount that they assume that they're Michael. One is Michael, the other. If there is a little difference at the time of Pirayon, that he's actually giving back more value, then it's such a small amount that each one is Michael, the other.
you can't be local interest.
It's not being given back. First of all, it's not being given back in the Torah's interest. So therefore, it's anyway not ribis ktsutsa. And so the Torah's that. And so therefore, maybe that they can be like. Right. So the Chachamim said you can be loving in this case, in these cases, small loans one to the other. So fire in so. Love and so fire and so. The Omar Rab Yehuda Omar Shmuel. Bnei Chabur, meaning let's say the Bnei Chabur. Let's say they're during Pesach time, people would join a Chabur and eat the Pesach together. They would be in one house, or they would be in a caravan traveling. Bnei Chabur. So if people have their own food. They bring their own food with them, but they're all together. And they are machpid. If they're machpid, the food that they have, if somebody wants some of it, they want to get paid back from the other person. They're machpid how much they give and how much they get back. So then it's problematic because then it means he gave this even with small quantities because they're machpid about it. So then they want to get paid back what they gave. Then in a case like that, if they will get paid back more, then it could be a problem of ribis because they specifically machpid even in these small amounts. So that means bnei chabur hamachpidin zeh al zeh oivin mishum mida umishum mishkal umishum minyan. They could be over if they would get back more weight or more amounts or more number when the person returns it. Mishum lavin. Also, they can even be over mishum lavin with feirin. Yom Tov, also because of lending and paying back on Yom Tov, and as long if b'kidivrei Hillel af mishum ribis, according to Hillel, it could even be a problem of ribis. Rashi says we'll read on the Gemara up about 10 lines. Mishum love and v'froyin, borrowing and paying back. Which now we learn in the Mishnah, Masechtas Shabbos. Yomar lo halveni. I guess on Yom Tov or in Shabbos is some problem of halvuas in general. It's like kinyanim. So that in general could be a problem when they're machbid. It's mamish. It's more like a real loan. Well, also in the first time, the reason over there is because you might come to write it down. So it becomes a problem of actually making a loan on Yom Tov and Shabbos. And then according to Hillel, could actually be a problem of ribis because they're machbid and they're giving if they would give back more. So Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel, Talmidei Chachamim Mutarim Lilvais Zeh Mizeh Ribis. So really, what he's saying is that Talmidei Chachamim, if they would give a real loan, they could give it with ribis. If they're Talmidei Chachamim, Rashi says, how is it? Because when they give it, they know it's also. Both of them know it's also. The Loiva and the Malva know it's also when they will be giving it, and when they will even speak about it in the beginning, they'll talk about it in terms of a matana. I'll give you this much loan, you give me back more, and they know that the extra will be a matana. It's very difficult, even for Talmidei Chachamim, to differentiate that this is a matana, but they could do it. Talmidei Chachamim mutarim lilvos zeh mizeh b'ribis. My time and why? May the other the ribis asura. They know it's asur. Therefore, they'll stay away. They'll keep the right kavanas. V'matanahu diyavu adodi. They make sure that the extra that will be paid back will not be b'tayras ribis at all. It'll all be given. The extra that will be given back will be b'tayras matana that I'm giving you a mam astama gift. Kedamar alei. Shmuel Lavua Bar Ihi told him, Halveni Mea Pilpulin, B'mea Be'estrin Pilpulin. Give me 100 for 120. For you to give me back 120. What's the 20? The Arich, and it was fine because the 120 there, they know that it can only be, it's not B'toris Ribis, it's B'toris Matana. That extra is for Matana. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Rav. Mutar lo la'adam la'alvois bonai b'nei beiso b'ribis kidei ta'iman tam ribis, that it's mutter for him to give loans to their children and to the people of their household, or for them to take loans from you in order to teach them how painful ribis is to have to pay it back. The love milsi, but the Gemara says no, it's not really true that anyone should do such a thing, because by giving loans like this to your children, or by allowing your children to take loans like this from the father, so instead of teaching them how painful it is, they could learn that and end up using it in life and charging people ribis. Because it could be that they'll get accustomed to how profitable it could be, and they would want to continue to do it. So it's not a good practice to try to teach one's children how painful paying ribis could be. So like a Mishnah, Omer Adam lechaver, a person can tell his friend, Nakesh, you should come weed for me, Ami, ve'enakesh imcha. You weed for me like today, and I will weed for you tomorrow. So this is Adur Imi, Ve'adur Imach. You dig holes in my field for me today, and I will dig holes for you in your field tomorrow. The difference here is who has to work more. Sometimes the different fields are more difficult to do. Sometimes the different times the ground is harder and it might be more work. So if he's going to return, meaning that if after the first person does work for the second person, the second person is not requiring the first person, or the first person is not requiring the second person to pay him right away. He's allowing the person not to pay him. And then later the second person does work for the first person. And if he ends up doing more work for the first person because it's harder to dig in that field, then it would be ribis for the fact that the first person didn't require the payment for his work to be given right away. Below Yomar Lo, he shouldn't tell him, however, he shouldn't tell him, Imi ba'ador imach. You weed for me and I'll dig for you, because there's two different types of work. There it's more clear that maybe the second type might be more work than the first type. Or ador imi ve'anakesh imach. Or you dig for me and I'll weed for you. Because then it could be that the second work is clearly more difficult than the first. And if this says, you do this for me and I will do that for you. Kol yemei garid echad, meaning at any time during the summer. Garid means like sarid, like during the dry season. Any time during the dry season. Kol yemei reviyad, any time during the rainy season. Echad, during one rainy season. So we shouldn't.
This says that echad means they're the same. All the days of the dry season are the same. All the days of the rainy season are the same.
Right. Right, that's the second part. However, right, certain person shouldn't say, you weed for me today and I will dig for you tomorrow. However, the kol yemei garid, when we look at all of the days of a particular season, they don't make a difference. We won't worry that the ground is harder for one day than the next, as long as it's within the same season. If it's in the summer or if it's in the rainy season of the winter. Lo yomar lo charush imi bigarid. Don't tell him you plow for me in the summer. Va'ani echroish imcha bereviyah. And I'll plow for you in the winter. Plowing in the winter could be more difficult than in the summer, and therefore it could be ribis. Rabban Gamliel Omer Yesh ribis mukdemes v'yesh ribis mucheres. Rabban Gamliel says there's a type of ribis which is considered ribis which can, when it's given early before the loan, and a ribis which is also when it's given after the loan. V'yesh ribis, right? Kate said, what do we mean? Nosan einav lilvais hamenu v'hu mishlach lo. If he sees that a certain loy of a person, potential loan, sees that there's a person who he wants to take a loan from, so he might then send him a present because he wants him to give him a loan later. Yomer, and he told him when he sent the present, Ve'omer bishvil talveini, and this is present that you should give me a loan. Zuhi ribis mukdemis. That's called the ribis mukdemis, by giving a present before approaching the person for a loan. Loiva amenu. However, if he already had taken a loan, loiva amenu, ba'achzir lo es moisab, and he returned the payment. Vahu mishlach lo, and he sends him a present afterwards. Va'omer bishvil moisecha shehu betilos etzli. This is for the money that you left by me. Here's a present, a token of appreciation. Zuhi ribis mucheres. That's ribis mucheres. Rabbi Shimon Omer, yesh ribis devarim. There's ribis devarim. If a person takes a loan and then he will say thank you and he will say other appreciative words, that's usher, because he's saying it because he wants to show his appreciation for the fact that the person gave him a loan. Lo yomai shouldn't say to the person, da kibo ish ploni mimakim ploni. Shouldn't start telling the person new information where he might benefit from that. Oh, a certain person came to town. You should know information. You should know things. Suddenly he's trying to give him information about things that might be helpful to the malva. That's ribis devarim. You feel starts. Period. Shaila, and thank you. Be'elu loivrin. On the Isra of ribis below sase, the low sase of ribis, hamalva v'haloiva, both the malva and the loiva, when they make up. There's different parts of the ribis. There's one, the making up in the beginning before the loan is given, the stipulation, the agreement of how ribis will be paid. That's Isra, that's also by itself. This, and then there's the taking of the ribis by the malva. There's the giving of the ribis by the loiva. So there's an issue of the malva, loiva, orev, the guarantor. So he would be us. The orev would be it'll be us or not. He's not us on the taking. He's not us on the giving. He's also on the stipulating of the agreement, because he's involved in the stipulating of the agreement, allowing the agreement to go through. Adim also, they're over on the level of allowing the agreement to be made. The valuation of, that's the agreement. Putting the ribis on the loiva part. So Afa Soifa, even the writer, he would be responsible for the putting the ribis on the loiva. Oivrim mishum lo sitain, they're over on don't give. That would be the loiva. Mishum al tikach, and that would be the malva, don't take. Mito. Mishum lo sielo kinoise. By establishing a loan of ribis, the malva becomes like a overseer over the loiva. He's becoming lo sielo kinoise, like a noise, like a creditor who is a bothersome creditor that keeps approaching him and telling him to pay up. Mushum lo tasimun. This is where the orev and the scribe and the edim are responsible. The establishment of the deal, lo tasimun, putting it upon olive, is also issue. That's what they would be responsible for. Neshech, mushum, and also these everyone. Lifnei iver lo siten mechsham, like they're all over on. It's like the Gemara. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Omer, Munayin lenoise b'chaver. Where do we know that a person who gives a loan to somebody b'chaver mona, the eno rogel laktim? Person took a loan from a malva, and he usually never even says hello to this person, and suddenly he says hello. So he usually doesn't even pick up his head to say hello to this person. La'aktim lo shalom. Also la'aktim lo shalom now becomes usher for him suddenly to to want to say shalom to that person, because he's only doing it because the person just gave him a loan. Tamaloma, how do we know that? Because of the pasuk. It says neshech kol dover, and because the whole pasuk says lo sashich lo achicha. Don't neshech kesef neshech oichel, and you don't go pay back neshech to a person. Neshech kol dover. Also, don't go paying back ribis with your words. That's it. Talmud neshech kol davar. Even words are also for the lover to be paying back. Asher yashich. Right. Afilu dibur aser. The Mishnah said, elu oivin. These are those that are over on the different lavim. Omar Abaye, the malva over bekulan. On every single lav, he's going to be over on the taking, the maybe not on the giving, but he's over on he's over with the, even with the giving, he's over on lifnei iver lo siten michshal, because by setting up and by taking, he's causing the loiva to be giving, which the loiva is usher to do. Chulan, the loiva over on the loiva is on as the Tanya Rabbi Shimon Omer, Mal de and they lose. Lo I think we learned it before. If you don't before, mismotatin, they mamish, they lose all their nechasim loilam, and they don't come back. They don't come back. They don't get it back. Lord, not only that, as Shimasimim Moshe Rabbeinu Chacham v'Tayraso Emes, meaning these people that lend berivas, it's a nice way of saying they're kofer in the whole Torah. What do they do? What do they say? Ilu haya yodea Moshe Rabbeinu shiyei revach b'davar. If Moshe Rabbeinu knew the revach that is in interest, lo haya kosvo. He wouldn't have written it in the Torah, the Issa. It's kacha. How much they will, how low they will get by the desire to take rivers.
And yet, I've heard it said that the reasons that the rabbis instituted the heter iska was because they were afraid that people would stop lending to each other, which says that this is true.
Kiyose Rabdimi, when Rabdimi came, Omar, where do we know the person who gives a loan and he knows that the person doesn't have the money yet to pay back? You can't even walk in front of him, even if you don't even intend to ask to hint him that he owes you the loan. You're not even supposed to walk in front of him in general, because he might think that you're walking in front of him in order to remind him that he owes you the money. Don't be from like a nudnik creditor, meaning ta low. Even if you don't even intend to be a nudnik creditor, but he thinks that you're a nudnik creditor, that's also the ism. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi, the Omrei, Travaya, both of them say, Ki'ilu donu Bishnei danin, that a person who is asking people to pay back when they don't have it yet, is like he's dan b'shtei inyanim. Shnei amah, it says, Hirkavto enosh l'roshenu. That roshenu means that in a loan, meaning we bonu v'eshu b'mayim. Those that are bothering people after they gave them a loan to pay it back, they're going to be dan v'eshu b'mayim. That's what it's a pasuk in Tehillim. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav Kol mi sheyesh lo mois. Whoever has money, v'mal ba'oisam shelo be'edim, and lends them out, and there's no witnesses to the loan. There's no edim to the fact that he just gave it to somebody. Over mishum lifnei iver, he's over for doing that because he's putting a nichshal in front of the loiva. The loiva will be tempted to deny that he received it. There's no witness to this loan. So lifnei iver lo siten. Rashi, in the narrow lines of Rashi, down from the top, around 15 lines, says, "Over mishum lifnei iver she'oila al ruchoi she'loy v'lichfor." He's going to be tempted to deny the loan. Gemara says, "Reish Lachish Omar." Goyrim klal la'atzmo, a person who will lend without edus, he's going to cause a curse to himself, because it says, what happens if the person will deny the loan in Beis Din, that people are going to look at him and he's claiming a loan, money from a person with no proof to it. People are going to look to him and there's a curse that goes, why is he's blaming somebody, an innocent person? They're going to consider that he's blaming an innocent person. As it says, to Yolamno Sifsei Shokir. This is like a curse. Hadoivros al Tzadik also. Whoever says about a Tzadik that he's a liar. And that's what he's doing. He's calling this guy a liar, and he doesn't really have proof to it. And people are going to look at him and say, oh, look at this person calling this Tzadik. Could be this poor guy is innocent. And this person is saying that he owes him money. And he's really bringing a curse on himself. Omrule Rabbanin l'Rav Ashi. Komekayim Ravina Komashe de Omar Rabbanin. That they said about Ravina to Rav Ashi that he's tzaddik, he's mekayim all everything the Rabbanin said. So Ravina wanted to test him. So he says Sholach le Bahadi Fonai Demali Shabbat. So just before Yisachama, mamish before the Shabbos was coming in, close to the mamish close. So he sent him over. Vishodar li ma Sarah Zuzi. Please lend me 10 zuz. He sent a message that the Ravina should lend him 10 zuz. Disrami li katina da'ara, because it just came available. Purchase. I can buy a small piece of land. Mizaven. To buy it, I need the money quickly. You want to test them. So, Sholach le, Nisimar Sa'adi B'nichtov Kosva. So give me Eidim that will testify to this loan, and we'll do it. We'll write it out. So Sholach le, Filo Ana, Nami. So even you don't trust me, a trustworthy person, do I also have to write out this Eidus for this loan? So he answered, even more so with you, because you're busy in learning, you'll have a tendency to forget. The Torah begir say, Mishtole v'gorim klal, and if you will forget, and then I will have to ask for the money, he said he himself would be bringing a klala. Ravina answered back, he himself would be bringing a klala on himself. V'gorim klal la'atzmi, Tanarbanin, Shlosha tzoakim ve'inanin. There are 3 people that yell out in Beis Din, and the Beis Din won't listen to them. The Elohan mi sheyeshlo mois v'malva oisan shelo be'edim. Someone lent him out without aiding. Now he's trying to get the money back. He won't be listened to. More, that'll be spoken about later. Right now, someone who his wife rules over him, meaning he wrote out all of his nechasim to his wife. Right. So, what does it mean? Kind of adam la'atzmo. He took a adam on himself. Mahi, what is that? Some say that he said that all of his money is a goy's money to get himself out of having to, that nobody can make a shvu about it. And so the problem is maybe the goy will hear him saying that too many times, and he'll actually try to be tovei him on that money. And since he said it is the goy will be believed, and he'll be able to take the money away from him. To Omri, toile nechosav benachri. Ikeda Amri, different shot is hakaisim nechosav livonai b'chayav. Someone who writes out all of the nechasim or a large part of the nechasim to their kids. So then ends up that's like an odom al atzmam. Rashi says, Rashi in the last Rashis that are on that parak, just before the end of the parak, toile moisav benachri. The money that he's using then, the hem shel ploni, they're nachri. This is really the money of a goy. Hem shlo l'shtoba lashvi hem shlo lashvia atzmo. In order not to put himself in the position where he would have to make a shvuah. Ufamim shan nachri shomeya. The other pshat is that he writes out his money to his kids, and his kids then rule over him, and they don't give him the full use of his money. Someone to be yeshla bahamasa that some learn that another pshat is he takes a master of himself, is he got embarrassed in the place where he lives, and he didn't move to a new city. That's like taking a master over himself, because he could have just moved and then been meshana his mazel. I guess with the wife, he took his wife as sholit by giving her all of one's money, so that she is so he's makabel on himself to give her a certain amount of money. Because of that, he can't divorce her for whatever reason. So that's considered that she's ruling over him. She has control over him because he committed himself to too much money for her. And we'll stop here.
Tomorrow at 4:25.